It's pretty cool to be joined by a good friend of mine, a guy who we kind of discussed a little bit earlier on the show. Just when you're going through a tough season like we went through, it's incredible to look down and see somebody saying, "Hey, man, I've been through it. I got your back." And the new head coach of the UNLV Running Rebs is Josh Pastner. He joins us in the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. Josh, how are you?
Doug, how are you doing? You've been through this, as you know, just a year ago, so you understand how hectic everything is, chaotic, and you're just moving at such a fast pace. Obviously, at the spot that you were at, you got the job much later than I did, so you were really put at a disadvantage on that for you personally. But you understand how fast and chaotic and just it's a whirlwind when you take over.
Okay, so the big question is, you have a wife, you have kids, right?
Yep.
When you ask them, right? What's the conversation like in the Pastner household? How did you approach it?
Well, there's two things. Number one, I got 4 kids, and I got 3 daughters and a little son, and my 14-year-old daughter and my 12-year-old daughter. When I told them, like my wife, we were so excited. Obviously, my little son, he's 3, so he doesn't understand. My 9-year-old daughter was so excited, but of course, my 14 and 12-year-old. They get a little upset. They're up there because they're leaving their friends. It's like that's all they've known is Atlanta, Georgia, and their entire world is that's where they were been at. And so, as you know, Doug, you see it on their face and you feel bad. Well, we get here yesterday because we flew in yesterday morning, do the press conference, and by the time the end of the day. Like they really changed. Like they started getting a little excited. Said, "Dad, this is kind of cool," and so that made me feel better because you know how it is, Doug. When you're kids and they're young, they don't always understand about moving. And so as the day went on, and even this morning, they totally softened up and gotten from where they were really sad, like about moving, to now really excited about what the opportunity to move and see the place here in Las Vegas. And so that makes it easier for me. The other thing is I love my family. You'll understand this, Doug. I love my family so much, but they're here with me, but I needed to get them back on the plane back to Atlanta because it was so hard to start working and trying to do everything when they're, because they require a lot of attention. They're in a brand new place in a quick 24, 36 hours, and they're sitting at the hotel, and they're, "Hey, Dad, we're hungry. What are we doing?" I'm like, and you can't even answer their calls because you're trying to recruit and deal with everything at that current time. So it will actually give me some space right now to really focus on what needs to be done job-wise and lock in on all what needs to be locked in, as you know.
Josh Pastner joining us. He's the head coach of UNLV, the Running Rebs, and you obviously a part of that 1997 Arizona National Championship team. Previous to that, UNLV and UCLA had won national championships on the West Coast. What's the challenge like to get UNLV back? I don't know if you'll get back to that level, but get back to where you have national prominence. What's that challenge like?
Yeah, no, look, every job's hard. There's challenges in every job. The great thing about this job, as you just mentioned, Doug, it has a long, storied, tremendous history, not only nationally and globally, but especially, as you know as well as anybody, up and down that West Coast. When you think about UNLV and you have those 4 letters on your shirt, or you talk about UNLV, it's a global name. People know UNLV. Obviously, Las Vegas is becoming the epicenter for not only the sports industry when you think about it, but it's obviously for the entertainment industry. Again, not just in the United States of America, but globally. And so there's a lot here, and we've got to get back to, look, it's how do you ignite and re-energize and have the excitement and enthusiasm again. All those things have to go hand in hand, and it starts with, look, you got to recruit, you got to get a staff together, you got to win games, but you've got to get the community back, you got to get the fan base back, and you've got to roll up your sleeves and get in the trenches to rally everybody to do that. I think the style of play is critical. As you know this, you just mentioned it, is the running Rebels. They are used to, on the offensive end, playing very up-tempo. and on the defensive end, they want to see you get up underneath guys, trying to use your defense to move in things, opportunities on the offensive end, all those type of things to play with that pace, that speed, that tempo, that exciting brand of basketball. And obviously the most important thing is you got to win. I mean, we all know that. That's the deal. But look, Doug, we're in a great basketball league. You know that. The Mountain West is a great basketball league. There's really good coaches, really good players. And so, but UNLV is in a position to have an opportunity to be, re-energized and compete to get back to the NCAA tournaments and compete and win championships. I mean, that's the goal. And you don't have to do it where, things are different now, where you don't have to wait 5 or 6 years to do it. Things can be so fast to quickly turn things. Again, not easier said than done because there's a lot of challenges, but that's the thing is you can move at much quicker pace than ever before to try to bring it back that quickly.
Okay, so let's talk about that because we have seen some coaches 2 years fired, 3 years fired. And I think every job and every build is different unto itself. What's a reasonable expectation for for UNLV?
Well, look, I mean, you're right. I think the climate has changed now these days, Doug. I think you would be the first to agree with it. I mean, it's just a different world we're in. The fast pace of college athletics are changing at an ever-evolving speed. So I don't think people are waiting anymore for 5, 6, 7 years to turn things around. It's got to be quick. So all I know is, instead of putting a time frame on it, all I know is my mind, I want to do this next year, like as quick as possible. Whether that happens, I mean, look, you got to go get it done. You got to get on the floor. You've got to go get the great players. There's no guarantee of anything, as you know as well as that. I mean, you got to go compete, and the other team wants to win too. But I didn't come here to try to have a long process, and it's going to be a 5-year deal. That people aren't going to want to hear that. It's got to be they want to see changes, and they want to see changes quickly, and I understand that. And I think you have to accept that. And it's sort of like, Doug, it's like the climate of college basketball. If you're complaining and upset about the rules and about the NIL or pay to play, as I like to say, or the portal, the transfer portal, or whatever else, if you're complaining about that, you're going to get left behind. Like you've got to accept it, deal with it. You got to be ready to adapt, change in real time. I mean, there's things moving in college athletics that is moving so fast. It's literally in real time. So all those things go hand in hand. I just think that's the new era and the new wave of what we're in. So, to sum it up, I'm as excited as can be. I love kind of the new model right now. I mean, now being in it for his first couple of days, I actually love it. I mean, you think about it, Doug, I remember all the times, and I've recruited a lot of guys. I can't tell you how many times where I would spend 4, 5, 3 years, 3, 4, 5 years chasing guys, recruiting guys, right, spending more time on them than being with my own family, and then at the end they choose somewhere else. The great thing about this profession right now, you just streamline everything. Instead of a 3-4 year deal that you're so exhausted trying to get a guy, now it's a 3 or 4 week deal at the most. You try to figure it out. Yes, you got to make decisions much quicker, but talk about not wasting time and being way more efficient. I think this way's way better.
I do too, but then there's also the element of, do you know what you're getting, right? Because it's like you make the call, you make the connection, you like the kid, you like what you see on Synergy, you like what you see on tape. You're like, that was it. What do I not know, right? And whereas previously, and I know that at Memphis and at Georgia Tech, you weren't transfer you, but previously, you wanted guys that took transfers. You want to know. Oftentimes have recruited them out of high school and come in
right
second, and then you come in first when they transfer. What do you think of your challenges of really knowing what you're getting in the transfer portal?
Well, Doug, Doug, I mean, you're exactly right. That is probably the downside of it. You don't 100% know. I mean, obviously, if Cooper Flagg goes in the portal, I think we all know who Cooper Flagg is, and there's not a lot of mystery on that. But there's a lot of guys out there that could be there in the portal, and you're not sure. So, Doug, evaluating is so important, more so than ever. And a lot of the evaluation now has to be done via film, because a lot of the guys on the portal, you're gonna have to watch them on the film and really study their game via film. So you've got to be really good with your eyes. I think that's a big deal, is being good with your eyes. And so I think that's part of it. Yes, I think another area that's not easy is, and Doug, you're dealing with it. Like, hey, you see a good player. Like, what's the money value? And what's the value? I mean, is it $75,000? Is it $100,000? Is it $300,000? That's not easy. You know what I'm saying? What's the market out there? So
sure.
I think those are the two things that make it tough in the quick turnaround of it. I think those are probably the negative of it.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Whereas, but on the other side, there is not a lot of wasting time, and I think you would agree with that. And you've been around it. You know how it was before. Doug, you would spend 3-4 years trying to get a guy to come to your school, and you wouldn't know where you stood because you're dealing with so many others. And maybe you get in the top 5, then they take 5 official visits, and then they make an announcement. You get what I'm saying? I mean, literally. And when you lose a kid like that, you are crushed, because you were like, man, all the time, and it was crushing. Now you're just literally dealing it within weeks.
What about the challenge to being in Vegas? I do know that it doesn't matter now in regards to sports gambling and monitoring that, managing that, because everybody's got that issue when you're a college head coach. But it still is Vegas. It's the entertainment capital of the U.S. There's always something to do, always something to get into. And you know how it is. Like, there's gonna be a kid that comes to Vegas and has other off the court intentions, if you will. How do you forecast and foreshadow that?
Well, I think the first thing you said, I think regarding the gambling issue, I think, yes, obviously people know Las Vegas with the casinos, but you just said it best. I mean, you can gamble on your phone now. I mean, and so it's so globally, almost done all over the world now via the cell phone at any point. And what I would tell you is, I think it's really important. You got to, and this is whether this is at UNLV or any school in America, educating about the possible dangers of gambling. Obviously, forget about just what's not allowable by law of anything with regards on your team, but just in general, being educated on the dangers of it, of what it could lead to possibly. And I'm not talking about anything against federal law, but what it could lead to, how it could be self-destruction, sure. And if you end up getting a gambling problem, all those type of things. And that's for another time and place. So I think education is really important on that. And I think, look, I would also tell you that education on just, doing, I don't care if when I was in Memphis or Atlanta or here, we're talking to our guys, like, there's just certain times of the day and night or certain places you just don't need to be at. You're asking for trouble. Yeah. So I don't care where that is, whether that's in Las Vegas or in Vermont. There's just issues you could get yourself in trouble if you're not being smart. On the other hand, I don't know if there's a better place in the world to want to play basketball and being able to be seen by the NBA people, by having to be able to be seen by the connections that you can meet and the opportunities that could come from it. Yep. Being in the West Coast here with the weather, literally, whether it's practices or games, the amount of NBA eyes coming through your gym of practices and games, literally on an everyday basis, is probably no other place like that in any college team. And then, how many times do you see, for even in portal guys, you might get them for a year or two. I mean, this is a great place to be at, and because sometimes maybe I think back in the old days they might say, well, 4 or 5 years there, and man, you might only have a guy for a year or two. So I think it's all positive. I think there's great things about it. The city is awesome and has grown and expanded, and there's a lot of people moving in here to live here full time. It's different than what it was in the maybe 20 years ago. The city is gorgeous, it's growing, it's blowing up. I mean, it's the epicenter of sports and the entertainment world is right here in Las Vegas, and you can be part of that when you're playing for the UNLV Running Rebels.
Last thing. How have you changed your voicemail message yet? Because like for people who don't know, Josh is famous for his voicemail message, right? Always in positivity, but always he reached Josh Pastner, head basketball coach at the University of Memphis or at Georgia Tech. Have you changed the voicemail yet?
The voicemail, I change my voicemail pretty much every month of a real positive message, and so I have a new message on there. I actually just did it the other day. So people call me all over the world. And before they call me, a lot of times they'll say, Coach or Josh, I don't answer. I need a pick-me-up. I need to hear a positive message because they just want to hear my voicemail message. I've got the same cell number for my whole entire life, and so it's a way that I really truly believe in that way to live, and I've lived that way, and it's how I understand how preciousness of but I believe in life and positivity, and that's just kind of who I am and what I'm about. And so I try to give it on my voicemail to allow people to maybe get a pick me up here or there. And if that helps some people, that's a great thing.
Josh, awesome. I'm super happy for you and for your family. Get back in the portal, get yourself some players, and we'll talk soon. Okay?
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it so much.